Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio for another week of football action. With me, George, as always, Fridays at 5 p.m. on IO Radio. Hope you're all well. Hope you're having a great week. I know we're not having much football, but I hope you can keep yourself busy whilst we wait for the football season to come back. And, you know, these boring international breaks are just, excuse me, very tiring, I have to say. But who am I joined by this week? Well, I'm joined by my regular co-host, as always, and Ipswich Town fan. It is Dan. Dan, how are you doing, mate? How are you coping without any league football? You must be going mad, and these international breaks must be making you very tired here.
Yeah, it is. You know, I thought when Ipswich got relegated to League One, we'd have no international breaks, but that's not how it works at the moment, is it? Unfortunately. But yeah, football's back at the weekend, so let's go.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Football is back on the weekend. Proper good football. You know, 92 teams all in action, but we have to deal with international breaks. And I thought that as well when Town got relegated to League One. I thought, benefit, no international breaks, football each weekend. What could go possibly wrong? Many things. And well, what have we got coming in today's show? Well, before I even get to that, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube, it's got both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, you missed last week's show, do not worry. That's up on our YouTube and Mixcloud. Head to there now if you want to see what we talked about last week. Or if not, stick around and listen to us right now because we're going to be talking about England. They've had 3 World Cup qualifier games, their first games since July, since that Euro 2020 final in 2021. I have to mind that. But they played against Hungary, Andorra, and Poland. We'll be talking about Ipswich Town, a bit of chat. Not much has been going on, but we're going to have a little bit of discussion before the big game on Saturday against Bolton Wanderers. And if we have enough time, let's have enough time, we'll be doing a football roundup. We have a few bits of news here and there. Nothing much really because international breaks needs to make everything go a bit quiet. But when we come back, we'll be talking about England and what's been going on in these 3 World Cup qualifier games. Stay tuned.
Drip, 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 drip.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadios Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on talking about England this week in their World Cup qualifier games, as they look to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, which is actually in the winter, funny enough, not in the summer, in the winter. I'm going to have to get used to that. Before we move on to that, I better mention social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is at Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, head over there right now and listen to some of our previous shows. Why not? Listen to last week's if you want to. You can come back and listen to this one. I don't know when. But, well, England, they've been playing the Football League season. Might have just taken a short little break, but do not worry. There has been something to fill the void of no football in international duties. Hooray! Oh, gosh, very boring, very sleepy. But do not worry. England have been back in action. Hooray! We love England being in action. The first game since July, since that 2020 Euros final in 2021. We've seen them play 3 World Cup qualifier games as they look closer to book their place on the plane for the 2022 Qatar World Cup next year in the winter, which is going to be fun. But let's start off at the beginning of these 3 games with a trip to Budapest, to Hungary, which England which consolidated their power with a 4-0 win in Budapest. But the win was really sort of overshadowed by a very hostile and, well, at times, unsavoury atmosphere, which saw several flashpoint moments with the crowd throwing objects onto the pitch, beer mugs and beer cups being thrown on every time the players scored, especially Raheem Sterling scored an absolute shower with them. And then also those racist chants could be heard in the crowd as well. Dan, the path for England to Qatar starting off very smoothly, but this game, unfortunately, won't be remembered for this dominant performance by England, which happened in the second half. It'll be remembered for all the vile abuse that happened and why these hungry fans here, because they've been banned by UEFA for 3 games, but not by FIFA. How's that work?
Yeah, I know. I don't get that either. And I think during the Euros, every time Hungary played, it seemed like a really good atmosphere at their stadium. So it's just so frustrating to see that some of these people are doing stuff like that. It completely ruins the football being played, because I thought England played really, really well, especially second half. Obviously, had to push through it a bit in the first half, but second half were really good and got them 4 goals. But yeah, I think some of them fans, they disgraced their country, like back on the Bulgaria game as well. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand why more can't be done to combat this, because it seems to just be getting worse, doesn't it? So yeah, it's just really unfortunate and frustrating that it had to be remembered this way, because I thought it was a really impressive performance in the second half by England against, I'd say a pretty tough Hungary side, because they did well in the Euros. They, at one point they looked like they were going to get through the group stage, didn't they? In that really weird group that they were in, that kind of changed around on the last game day. So yeah, I was really happy with the performance by England, but yeah, just horrible that it's remembered for other reasons.
Yeah, it seems like this is now a regular occurrence, and it shouldn't be a regular occurrence. This shouldn't be happening full stop. It shouldn't be happening at all. And it's just awful that lots of these games are now being remembered for this, not for even the game itself, which is the most, I think the game should be remembered for what happened on the pitch, not off the pitch. But hopefully that will be, hopefully enough will be done to stop this, because racism needs to be kicked out of football very quickly. But England, they returned home after that game for the first time since the Euro 2020 final, which was actually played at Wembley, with a game against Andorra. And they comfortably beat them 4-0 at Wembley. Southgate, he came to this game, he made 11 changes from the Hungary game, a debut for Patrick Bamford. I think he's now the 1,253rd player to play for England, different player, I think. Don't quote me on that. I remember seeing the number somewhere. I'm just taken off the top of my head. Jesse Lingard, he scored 2 as well. He got a double. Saka, he came off the. I think did he come off the bench or did he start? Dan, do you remember this?
Well, I was working at the time, so.
he scored a goal on his 20th birthday. Let's just say that much. Down the end, which unfortunately where he missed the penalty as well. But what a way to redeem himself, and he got a very good response by the England fans, and Trent Alexander-Arnold playing in the midfield, which caught a few fans' eyes. But Dan, 5 successive wins really for England. Now heading into this, one step closer to the World Cup. I put them a good forward before the Poland game, but some interesting decisions here by Gareth Southgate, resting a lot of players. Jesse Lingard doing very well. We saw he got 2 for England. He's rejected a new contract now at Manchester United, we have heard. Patrick Bamford, he finally got his first England start, very long overdue. Maybe we should have gone to the Euros, potentially even been in the squad, that provisional squad. Trent playing in midfield. Saka scoring his 20th birthday and sort of just getting a lovely response from the crowd after what happened in that final. So good game all around for England here.
Yeah. A simple, a game that was dominated, wasn't it? Again, and an easy win, which I guess was kind of expected. But I think, the fact that Gareth Southgate changed the team so much, I think that was expected as well, because Poland was always going to be the tougher game. So to give the first team a rest just for this game, I think a decision that was kind of expected. And I thought these players did well. Obviously, Jesse Lingard scoring 2. I think it puts a message in Gareth Southgate's head, maybe that he should be considered a little bit more, because he kind of just dropped off, didn't he? And Saka coming on or starting or whatever.
I'm just about to find out. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah. I'm there. I'm actually there. He actually started.
Okay, he started. But yeah, to get the reception he did after what happened, it must have been so tough on him. The abuse he got after that as well. I think it was awful to see, and I'm glad that he kind of made, he had redemption for that and got a good reception from the fans as well. It was really good to see. And it looks like he's turned a corner from that miss, which is great to see. And yeah, of course, Bamford getting his debut. I think that it's definitely deserved. He's been key player for Leeds, hasn't he, for a long time now. Even back in the Championship. So, yeah, well done for him for getting his debut. The whatever number it was, the 1,000 something English debut, or whatever you said.
Something like that.
Good stat.
If I remembered it correctly, yes, it would have been a great stat.
But yeah, great to see him get his debut. What I read, it wasn't the best performance, but it's the debut, so.
Yeah, he's got the shirt, he's got the cap now, so he can be happy, and you could be happy now because you said you should be getting England starts at one point. You were disappointed he wasn't in the professional squad. I remember this now.
I was disappointed. Yeah, I thought he definitely deserved it, but
yeah, you were crying about it and everything. Tears, floods of tears. Well, after this game against Wembley, England had a very big game up next against Poland in Warsaw to try and make it 3 out of 3 from these games, make it 6 straight wins in a row. And it was all looking very good, thanks to Harry Kane's long shot strike, which now has put him in the 5th in the all-time scoring record now for England, ahead of Michael Owen now on 40 goals, only 13 now behind Wayne Rooney, who leads the way on 53. But unfortunately, that couldn't stop Poland snatching it at the death in injury time, meaning England perfect streak ends. It's now gone, but they're still on course to make it to qualify for the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar. But Dan, England, they did very well to control Poland. Poland had quite a lot of the ball. They very much limited them to only minor opportunities, kept Robert Lewandowski very quiet until his perfect delivery of the cross for the equaliser. Another painful end really here for England, but just I think on the sort of the hindsight of this, a little kink in the road here, not going to be as smooth as paths have been before, unfortunately.
No, and I think we need to expect these type of games. Obviously, it's going to be really tough to go to Poland, but I thought England played really well and kept the ball really well. At least they were comfortable, and we just tired out, didn't we? I think I think it was about on 80, 82, 83. I kind of said, I don't know about this. And when they started attacking, into the 90, I was like, there's a goal coming here. You could just see it coming. But I think that's what disappointing is, that we kind of controlled the game until that point, didn't we? So, although there weren't really any chances, there weren't much chances to speak about, and we kept Lewandowski very quiet, which, a player of his caliber and his talent, you need to do that. So I thought that we did well at doing that, and kept the ball really well. It's just, so disappointing. But these things happen in football, don't they? And I don't think overall a draw is a terrible result, really, is it? Because we're still top. I think we're 5 or 6 points ahead of. I don't even know who said it. I think it's Albania.
We are.
So, I don't think a draw was a terrible result. It's just disappointing after the performance, controlling the ball for long periods. It's just, lack of concentration in the final minutes cost us.
Yeah, I think we are now 5 points. We're still clear at the top by 5 points, I think that's what it is now. But Gareth Southgate, after the game, he has to defend his decision because he made no substitutions throughout that whole game. During the whole 95 minutes, no substitutions made at all. But he said he felt very confident inside as they were controlling Poland very well. But using the power now of hindsight, should they maybe just made 1 or 2 as there? Because like you said, in the 82nd minute, England tired out. And we've seen that before with England. In key moments, they do hit a brick wall. This has been a little bit of a common theme. We saw it in the 2018 World Cup against Croatia. We sort of saw it a little bit in the Euro final as well, this tiredness, this little bit of legginess coming into the side. But surely they should have just made 1 or 2, seen out the game here, because they have players like Henderson Bellingham and Cody on the bench, who would possibly just maybe add a little bit of experience onto the pitch and maybe just added what England needed in sort of just breaking that ball up, just a little bit of leadership on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree. I think England needed that in the final moments. It was a very, very strange decision, I thought, from Gareth Southgate, because I think no matter how long you don't make a substitution for, players are going to tire out eventually. You can't expect any player really to just run around constantly for 90 plus minutes. It's gonna take a toll, isn't it, eventually? So yeah, I thought that was very, very odd. And you noticed it going into 80 minutes that our players were tiring. I think fresh legs were just needed to see out the game. And you see a lot of people questioning Gareth Southgate, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he struggles to. I mean, we can't really complain, can we? We made it to a final of the Euros, but sometimes decisions are a little bit strange from Gareth Southgate. But we still trust him. But I just thought that was a bit odd, and should have really made at least one change to get some fresh legs on, because you could see Poland were coming into the game in the final minutes, and as I said, you could see a goal was coming, and it only takes a brilliant cross from Lewandowski and a towering header, and that's that.
Yeah, and it's 1-1, and it's should have made that sub. Dan, we've now had England's first games back since that final in July, which they lost. A very heartbreaking moment for the nation and for the team. But these games here have been sort of a time now where they can sort of put that behind them. And by watching all three of these games, which you have, apart from one, the Andorra game, but hush, shush, nobody needs to know. Does it look like that game now is still affecting them? Are we still seeing a little bit of a hangover period? They're still feeling the pain from that loss, or is it now? It looks like they've put that behind them, a little bit more strength. It looks like they're using that to their advantage, really. That they know it's like to lose, and that's made them a little bit stronger and a bit more together, because this side, we do know it's a very tight-knit side. Not many new players are very much added to the side, only one or two at a time. But are we now seeing as much stronger England side? It's not individuals. It's a very much now a united England, which could possibly push here for success in the World Cup next year.
I mean, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? But yeah, I think it was quite important for Gareth Southgate to keep his team together after the loss, because it's easy to keep that in your mind, isn't it? But I think from what I've seen over these 3 games, we've seemed to put that behind us quite well. I think we come out and acknowledged that it could have gone either way. A penalty shootout is a 50-50. And it just didn't go our way that day, and just put that behind us and go again. And I think that's what these England players have done really well. And I think they've done that well for quite a while, this era of England players. In the past, I feel like there's been lots of hangovers from previous tournaments. But, I think this time it's kind of, we don't get what we want in a tournament, but we can build on that and look at the mistakes we made and try and rectify them. And I think that's these 3 games, it might not have been 3 wins, but from what I've seen, it's kind of trying to get towards that and get ready for the World Cup next year, because I think we've got a decent chance in the World Cup, I think, and I don't think anyone could say otherwise, really.
Yeah, so we've got a decent chance to World Cup. And before we leave this England section, we do know that Gareth Southgate is going to be in contract talks now in November with the FA. There's talks about him staying to the 2024 Euros in Germany. Do you feel that is the right move by England here? We do know his contract is up at the end of the World Cup next year. So should England be looking to try and keep him to stay till 2024? Would that be the right decision to have him sort of power? But he has done fantastic things. So is it just a no-brainer decision that he's going to get a new contract in November now?
Yeah, I think it is a no-brainer, but I think it also depends on the World Cup, doesn't it? If we have an absolute failure of a World Cup and don't even, get past the group stage, then his job will be in question. But right now, I think it's really a no-brainer to give him a new contract. He got got England to a final in a major tournament, a semi-final and a final in 2 consecutive. Knowing there's not many England managers that can say they've done that, can they? So, yeah, I think at the moment, at this moment in time, he's the right man for the job. He's got some fantastic players. They're all united together, and he's succeeded so far. So I think I think we should give him a new contract, and maybe if the World Cup doesn't go well, they'll look elsewhere. But I think it's looking good at the moment. So what's the need to change it, really?
Don't change what's not broken, I hear sometimes. Maybe that motto is being used, Gareth Southgate, he's a simple man. He likes to have a nice beer on a relaxing evening at home. Remember that saying?
Yes. Yeah, I do remember that.
So maybe he's doing that. But yeah, that's everything for your England roundup this week. I don't know when England play next. You said it's October time, if I remember correctly. England will be back in action. You know what? We're going to find out right now. The internet's going to tell me when they're playing next. And it's actually, it's not too far away. They're playing on the 9th of October as their next game against Andorra away. And then Hungary at home. And then there's some games in November. And then we have a nice little break until, I don't know when. I think it's March, isn't it, usually?
It's usually March.
Yeah, so England will be back very shortly. Less than a month to go, actually. Be less than a month now because it was Friday today. But when we come back, we'll give you a talk about Ipswich Town. We're going to have a little discussion about Ipswich Town because they haven't been playing over this international break. But we've had a few little discussion points and we want to talk about them. So we'll be back right after this.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on to talking about Ipswich Town this week, do not worry, we will be talking about Ipswich Town. We always do. We've got an Ipswich Town fan here. We have to talk about it. It's mandatory. If we don't, something's gone wrong in the world, I think, Dan, if we're not talking about Ipswich Town,
I think so.
And I'm off the show next week because of that, probably because we don't talk about Ipswich Town. We have to. But before we actually talk about Ipswich Town, I better mention the social media. Twitter at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed anything from today's show, you missed us talk about England and their 3 World Cup qualifier games, do not worry. 6 p.m. on YouTube and Mixcloud. It will be re-uploaded for you. So if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. You can listen back to it then. Or if not, tune in at 5 o'clock on iRadios on a Friday and you'll hear it from the beginning. And you don't have to listen back to it. You don't have to listen back to it on the YouTube Mixcloud. Problem solved. But now it's Town this week. There may be an international break, and some teams in League One might not be playing, like Ipswich Town, but some are. It's very confusing. There's some games and there isn't. I'm absolutely baffled. Ipswich Town are not in action this week, but there's still been a few little things going around town. Not big things, but few things where we can have a little discussion about what's going on in the club. And firstly, I want to talk to Dan about a few days ago, we received the news that the most recent game, which was postponed, was the Wycombe away game because of the international duties and breaks, has now been rearranged to the 2nd of November, 7:45 kickoff. Dan, the new date will now see 2 back-to-back games, 2 games in 4 days, with Town travelling down to Plymouth on the Saturday and then an away trip to Wycombe on the Tuesday. But this is now another tricky... Well, we're now saying this is now another tricky run for Town because before that, they've got to play Pompey and Fleetwood, which is a back-to-back fixture on the Tuesday and then on the Saturday. So in hindsight here, another tough run added for Town in what's going to be now quite a busy October/November period for the club. Like, can they have a little break from doing all these busy periods? Because I can't keep up half the time. What's going on?
Yeah, it seems like that, doesn't it? It's reminiscent of our first season in League One, isn't it? The October and November period being so busy because of internationals, but this time it's not our fault. It wasn't Paul Lambert deciding for some reason because Downs was playing for England. You
never know. He might still be pulling the strings. There is a Paul in charge. It might be like a Scooby-Doo moment. Might have to remove the mask off and go, oh no, it's Paul Lambert. Hope not. Please don't. Please don't.
Imagine that. But yeah, it's going to be a tough time during that that period, isn't it? And I think that's another thing that Paul Cook needs to look at, because in League One, games are going to come thick and fast. I don't know. It just seems, I don't remember it being this much in the Championship. I don't know if that's just me. I think that is just me, but it never seemed this much. But obviously, it's what happens. International breaks are annoying for that reason, especially in League One, because, you know, you've got a game scheduled on that day, haven't you? So it needs to be rescheduled. But if we got, you know, Tuesday, Saturday, quoting another former Ipswich manager, I think that takes a lot out of the players in a way, doesn't it? Players need to be rested. But then again, we have decent backup, we got decent players that can come in and have backup for the players that need resting. So I don't think we can use, like we did back in the first season in League One. I remember kind of saying it was because of the international breaks that it went wrong during the cup run time, where we had like 3 cups in 1 month and so many league games.
It was like Coventry, like 3 games in a row, wasn't it? I remember that now.
It was. I think it was an FA Cup. It was a replay, and in the league as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I feel like this time, the fact that, you know, the quality of players we have, I don't think we really have any excuses. So yeah, it's going to be a tough run, and I think we need to be on top of our game, because it hasn't been a good start. I think we kind of need to get into the groove a bit before we come into them, you know, Tuesday, Saturday games, because, as I said, it takes a lot out of the players, I think.
Yeah, it does take a lot out of the players, but they ain't just yet. They're next month, the end of next month. So we've got a little bit of time. Still got time, but probably before that, we've probably got Saturday, Tuesday before that. So got to get in the groove of that. Well, Mike Ashton, he has been speaking this week about the transfers, and I think we had to say what a fantastic job he's done. Fantastic job he's done in the window. 23 out, 19 in. Some new exciting faces and fresh faces added to Town side, but he's been talking about the 2 eye-catching signings that happened on deadline day, Selina and Mosley, which he has revealed were actually touch and go. These last 2, he said, they're the most difficult to pull off he's probably done in his career. Really complex at the time, touch and go on whether both would even come, or even all parties would join and agree. But they came and they got across the line. We had to say some brilliant work really here by Ashton, actually revealing the insight a little bit here to how he got them. Apparently, Andy Roll said that Ashton doesn't like to do last-minute signings. He absolutely hates them. But he pulled them off. He got over his fears and he did them. But it's sort of interesting seeing how these signings were close to not even happening, and how it sort of worked behind the scenes. But I think I want to sort of put it, does it add a little bit more pressure now on Town? Getting these 2 signings in right at the last minute, quite big names. Selina, we all know about Selina. He's played at Town before in that 17/18 season. Yes, the last season under Mick, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. No, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, keep shaking your head because I don't know, but yes, he's correct. And also Mosley as well, a very high-profile player. He's had a very good career under Paul Cook, and he's been playing quite well for Middlesbrough. But does that sort of put a little bit more pressure? These 2 players here, they need to work. That's the thing. They need to work here to make them success, and all that pain that Ashton went through to get them here seemed like that actually it was worth it.
Yeah. I guess this is another reason why this is a good reason why the international break came at the time it did, because imagine if these players came in, you know, transfer deadline day, then we got a game away at Wickham literally pretty much immediately after that. You know, it doesn't give them time. Haven't had a pre-season, so I think that would have been tough on them. But to have a week or 2 training with you know, the rest of the squad and the new staff, I think it's only a good thing. The fact that we got these players in, I think it shows what a fantastic job Mark Ashton is doing. I think to get Selina and Morsey to come to this club in the first place is mental. I feel like getting Selena back. Well, actually, he did say that these were kind of long-term targets from the start of the season. So to go that long with them being targets and not really knowing, the deals, I guess, being on and off throughout the whole of the summer, to get them in at the last minute and persuade these players to come as well. It just shows what a fantastic job the staff are doing, and I'm really, really happy we've got people like that at the club now. It's complete change of identity, really, isn't it, at the club, which is really good to see. But yeah, I think there could be a bit of pressure on these players to come in and perform from the off. Obviously, they're going to have to work to get into the squad, but I think maybe with Morsey, I expect Morsey to go straight in the squad, mainly because I think he's seen as the captain material, isn't he?
Well, we've got to wait 3 games here before he goes in the side. We've got to wait 3 games.
Yeah, of course. I completely forgot about that. He'll play against West Ham Academy, won't he? I reckon.
Yeah.
Because he can play in that one, apparently. But yeah, really good job from Mark Ashton, and it's up to the players and Paul Cook now. He's done his job, hasn't he? So let's see how it goes.
Yes, he has done his job, and also as well, he's actually called for patience, which is something I've not seen a chief executive actually call for patience. But is that something that maybe is needed? A little bit of patience here. I know patience has been sort of stressed about before under previous managements, and it hasn't worked at all. But it's this one that does require some patience here. New players in, new faces. Got to get them all embedded in. Got to get them working on the same page here, even on the same wavelength. Is that something that maybe is possibly needed? Are we possibly going to still be expecting that against Bolton on Saturday? Patience is needed because these players still ain't going to know. We might have more situations where they might be actually 2-0 up and they draw 2-2 or they lose.
Yeah, I think patience is key. And I know a lot of, maybe not a lot, but some Ipswich fans will disagree and say that we should be winning by now, which, as I said last week, I understand where those fans are coming from. But yeah, I think Mark Ashton is right. It's an entirely new squad. Haven't been training together long. But I think now that the transfer window is closed, there's going to be no new faces. I think it won't be long until we get a run going because players are going to get used to each other. I think Wes Burns came out in an interview and said that Paul Cook has told them as well that relationships are key and they need to learn to work with each other and play with each other, which is, is crucial. So, and that takes time, doesn't it? Hopefully not a lot of time because we need to start winning soon. Because no matter how long it takes, how we look at it, we're now 12 points off top of the table, I think. So
relegation battle. Oh my God, relegation battle. Thought it's promotion battle, not relegation.
God, I hope not. But no, I think patience is really needed, and I hope fans in general realise that and give Paul Cook and these players time, because I know what we're like. It can get toxic very, very quickly. We've already heard a little bit of booing. It's not going to be long until we hear more. So yeah, I really, really hope for the players and Paul Cook that it turns soon, because I guess the owners aren't going to take losses for long, are they?
No, they're not. World Town, they're back on this weekend against Bolton, and Paul Cook and his players have had plenty of time now to look over the data and now look over the first 5 games as they've come so close to that first victory on more than one occasion. But they have played actually 1 game over this little period, just behind closed doors at Playford Road against Malden and Tiptree. And a little birdie told me it ended 2-2, which... yeah, I'm smiling. I'm smiling as best as I can here. You can't see this on the radio, but I am smiling.
Yeah.
But crying inside because I just found about that. I put it on the brave face here. But Dan, realistically now, they've had a week now to train all together, get plenty of time with Paul Cook and build on these relationships, which Wes Burns has said is key here. Are we now possibly expecting to see this game against Bolton a different side, a side which they now know what they're doing. They're all on the same page. They're all on the same wavelength. They've all got the same chemistry, the same relationship. They all know what they're doing here. Instead of one's trying to gain management, one's trying to attack, and one doesn't really know, and one's trying to do a 40-yard pass, one's doing a back pass. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Will we now possibly expect to see a different Town side, but also as well a Town side which could possibly get the first 3 points of the season on Saturday?
I mean, we'd all love that, wouldn't we? And I think having this break, I think we'll see more of that. I think we'll see more of the relationships that Paul Cook's trying to get, and I guess through training. But it's going to be a tough game. I think Bolton, and they did fantastic to get promoted last year from quite a poor start, and they've got a decent side. So it's going to be a tough one. I'm not worried about our attacking threat. I think that is nailed on to be good. But again, it's the midfield and the defence, and I think the fact that Morsey doesn't come straight in could be a factor there. I guess Harper and Evans, they've played a few games together, so maybe that's kind of the relationships Paul Cook was talking about that he wanted to keep together. But to have such an influential player out from the off is quite disappointing. And as well, we need to cut out mistakes. So it's definitely going to be a tough game. But I think having the break and having time to kind of get the team together, it leaves me quite confident for some reason. But that's the way I'm looking at it. So we've got to win at some point, and hopefully it's going to be Saturday. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. We're not going to concede that late equaliser. It's going to be 2-1, and that hopefully will get the season underway. So let's see. I could be completely wrong again. You look absolutely stunned.
Town are going to see out a game of football. What are you on about? No. I hope it'll be a win as well, because I'm going to be there, but you're not going to be there. Technically,
I know.
I'm going to actually see a game that you're not going to be there, and you're a season ticket holder.
Yeah. I mean, we could swap roles next week, couldn't we, for the show? It'd be the other way around.
Maybe not. Maybe not, Dan. I think we'll stay like this. I think I'll retract my statement from there now. But yeah, that's what Dan's going for. He's going for a 2-1 win to Ipswich Town on Saturday. What do you think? Let us know on Twitter at Pitchside Talk. What is your score prediction for Ipswich Town versus Bolton this Saturday, which is happening at 3 o'clock? So not long away now. Less than 24 hours, realistically. Something like that. But there's everything for Ipswich Town this week. And when we come back, we're just going to have a little bit of time here to do a football roundup. So don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on, talking about our football roundup for this week, as we have just enough time to do it, because VAR has allowed us enough time to do it. I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is at Talk_Pitch, and YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to back to any previous shows, or if not, listen to this one. If you missed anything from today's show, I was talking about Ipswich Town. England, do not worry, 6 p.m. on Friday. It will be up there for you to listen back whenever you want to. Listen live or listen back live. I don't whatever the terminology is. And we are doing a football roundup this week. Dan, I forgot to answer this question when I was off air. Do you want to start first week, or shall I? What should we do here?
I'll go first. Let's.
All right.
Because I think you did last time. I can't even remember.
Nobody knows.
Anyway. So yes, my news this week is about Troy Deeney. Obviously, when you think of Troy Deeney, you always think of that goal he scored for Watford in the playoff semi-final. He's now He's left Watford. He's not leaving Watford. He's left Watford, which for Birmingham, which is very, very strange to see, isn't it? It's been, I think, 11 years he's been at Watford. He's the captain and, such a legend there. They love him there. It's going to be strange for their fans. And I think, the rest of football really, not to see Troy Deeney at Watford in the Premier League, because it's been, so long with him there. But he's going to go to Birmingham, and I guess fair play to him. He wants to I guess go to the club he supports.
Yeah, and to play some football. I think he's missed the last 3 months of the season because due to an Achilles problem. Sort of struggling for a bit of play time. We know Watford like to sign players left, right, and centre. We all know what they're like. But it's going to be weird not seeing him there because I think he's kind of sort of one of those staple players, really. When you think of Watford, you think Troy Deeney. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when they go like, when you see this badge, first player you think of Troy Deeney. It's going to be weird now. You have to think of Ben Foster, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh, dear.
Yeah, he's not going to be there anymore. And I've got some news this week. Rio Ferdinand, he has been talking in the joint parliamentary committee about seeking the possibility of improving the government's draft online safe bill plan. As he's been saying, football has been sliding backwards and racism has now been normalised in the game, which it has really after sort of what happened in the final in Euro 2020. It's sort of down to that, the catalyst of what happened. He's saying it's very disheartening as the racism levels have now risen above what was in the 70s and the 80s, which has been described as by players at the time as the height. We're above that at the moment. And after what happened in the Hungary game and a little bit of the Poland game as well, some suggestions there that there's a little bit of racism as well. It's still horrible to see. But it looks like this new online bill will be forcing social media companies to do more to remove online abuse from social medias and towards people as well, sort of covering all sorts in the world. And if they don't do it, they will face multi-billion-pound fines. That is very funny. But this looks like this could be the start of something, putting some framework in, because there isn't any framework in, and it's horrible to see. I know it sounds bad. You sort of just now expect it when we shouldn't be expecting it. We don't want this to happen. It's not normal. It shouldn't be happening at all.
No, I think that's the thing, and I think Rio said that. He said we expect it to happen whenever something happens. Something happens in a game of football, or players travel somewhere. We expect it to happen, and that's awful when you think about it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So something needs to be done, and I'm pleased Rio is talking about this because it's really, really important.
Yeah, it is really, really important, and it shouldn't be happening. Whoever you are, wherever you're from, it shouldn't be happening. Full stop. Done. Yeah. Sorry, that's a little bit of a not a nice note to end the show on, but that is unfortunately everything.
It's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the truth. Unfortunately, this is the truth that we sit in, and something unfortunately we have to deal with and hit it head on. We have to. We can't beat around the bush here. No. We have to go. We have to stop it. We have to stop it now. But yeah, that is everything for today's show. Today, I want to thank you, Dan, very much for joining me this week. I guess I'll see you next week where we will be talking about Ipswich Town against Bolton. I don't think they play in the midweek as well, do they? Do they play in midweek?
Yes, we play in the Papa John's, wherever it's
called. The Papa John's trophy. Oh, my favourite kind of trophy, where they play for a pizza trophy, don't they? I hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll see you next week. We'll probably be talking about the Premier as well. The Premier will be back, and whatever else. Maybe the Champions League's back as well. Maybe that's back. Yeah. He's back. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. But yeah, so yeah, if you want to listen back to the show, do not worry. It'll be up on YouTube. It's going in a few minutes' time on Pitchside Talk. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at @talk_Pitchside Talk, and then Mixcloud is Talk_Pitch. I'm getting my usernames all confused. It's all going a bit wrong. I think we need to end the show there. I've been George this week. He's been Dan. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.